Morning, John. How are you this morning?
Good. How you doing?
Very good, sir. Hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah,
So
not too
let's
bad.
we've got the August numbers put together. Let's have a chat about what happened in the rearview mirror, and then we can talk a little bit about forward, I guess. So August was a lot of the same of what happened in July. We saw a little bit of a bump year over year in activity in sales.
Yep.
So a jump of about 4.5% overall, from what I can tell, across the region in sales. However, we did once again see a decline in pricing of about
Hmm.
6% across the board, which has kind of been the trend over the last several months, even over the last several years. We'll see either sales are down, but and pricing's down, or we'll see sales are up a little bit or flat, but pricing's down. So we continue to see that decline on the price side. But I guess the silver lining, if you want to look at it that way, was there's still a little bit of an increase in sales.
Which is noteworthy in the sense that it's July and August we're talking about,
Two
and
slow months a
normally
year.
normally we would see July and August a bit with fewer sales. But that being said, we're not talking dramatic increases here.
No, we're not. And I mean, if you think about, I haven't done this, but I think if we went back and we looked at year-to-date sales year over year, I think we'd see a very different story. I think we'd see
Yeah.
sales are still down dramatically year over year, year to date. So for the first 8 months of the year versus last year,
And
I think
whether
we'd
you're a
see.
realtor looking at the data like we are, or you're not a realtor and you're just seeing signs in your neighborhood, I think that tells the story.
Well, it's funny now. There's a couple of houses in my neighborhood that I drive by, and one that the sign is gone, and it got to the point where I don't notice the signs anymore. Now I know the sign's missing, and it didn't sell. They took the house off the market. So,
Yeah.
um,
There's one around the corner for me like that too.
yeah. So I mean, inventory levels are up dramatically. I mean, we're probably running regionally right now. I believe we're running somewhere between 4.5 and 5.5 months of inventory out there, which is
Mhm.
big. I mean, that's a big number for what we're used to.
Well, that
Uh,
puts you in buyer's market territory.
Absolutely. And then days on the market, we're pushing up in that 60, 65-day range. Again, we take into account continuous days on the market. So when they've relisted and canceled and relisted and all those things, we count all those days. Whereas typically in the media, you're just getting the most recent.
Yeah, not the
You know,
cumulative.
no, you're not. Exactly. No different than new listings out there. I mean, there might really only be 10 houses came on the market, but it says 22 listings because 12 of them canceled and relisted.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's interesting because we've seen people have long memories or short memories depending on where it's convenient, right? So, many will look back to 21, 22 when numbers were much stronger on the sales side, the price points that is, and they're just not there. And I know there's a lot of reports out there right now that are putting out projections or revising their projections for that matter for the rest of the year. And we're seeing, Remax, 6.5% drop in price.
and 5.5% drop in sales.
Yeah,
Five different
like
things.
those are single digits. I know there'll be somebody out there that say, well, that's not that big of a deal. No, 6 points on a million is a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's noteworthy. I mean, whether they're accurate or not, who knows? I mean, they're revising their projections at this point of the year. So 6 months ago, whatever number they'd put on it was not right.
Right.
So take it with a grain of salt. What I did see in that report, and I'm not sure if you noticed, was the consumer confidence element. They're saying 54% of people think that this fall could be a good time to purchase, which is encouraging because for so long now, at least a year and a half, we've seen consumer confidence has been down. A lot of people think that maybe now is not the right time to be in the market.
Well, across the board, confidence has been down. Consumer confidence has been down.
Hmm.
Um, and it is encouraging to see it come up. I think a lot of people are, again, we talked about this last month, are getting to the point that they're becoming immune to the um, all the tariff talks and everything else that's
Yeah.
created some havoc in the economy. But when you look at what's going on out there right now, I think it's an opportunity for people to get in the market and buy, because the pricing is down. And the difference now comes down to whether or not you're confident to get in the market or not. And this really comes back to what type of market we're in and what it really means for people. We talk
Yeah.
all the time about buyer market, seller's market, balance market, things like that. They're terms that get thrown around in this industry, and there's a moving target of what that looks like. But if it's a buyer's market out there, that means that we have an abundance of extra inventory. But if a buyer is not in a qualified position to buy, is it a buyer's market for that individual? Great, you want to buy a home, but if you can't afford to buy the home that you want, is it a market you can compete in or
Yeah.
engage in?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because everybody's situation will always be different. There are no two transactions the same. And I've talked to clients about this where you could take two literally identical brand new homes, let's say 6 months down the line, whoever bought it originally is now selling. You've got you're not dealing with the builder. You're dealing with the private individual. Their circumstances are different. The buyer on each of those houses will be different, and that's what drives the transaction.
Yeah.
It's the people involved in their circumstance, right? So. You know, when is the right time to buy for somebody? Well, when it's right for you. Your
And when you
situation is
can.
unique to you. But, that being said, are there opportunities out there today? Absolutely. I mean, obviously, when you have more inventory, there's more to look at, more to choose from, and chances are you're going to face less competition, which obviously I think most people would agree is a good thing. Think of 3 years ago when every house sold in competition, and you had disappointed buyers, sellers probably getting more than they expected, but they were happy. But when you're constantly losing in competition, are you getting the house that you really wanted? Is it, did
Well,
you?
John, I think excellent point. But I think what it really triggers for me is readiness or preparedness.
Yeah.
So the people that have been talking about we want to buy a home, or we're looking to get into home ownership, we've been paying rent, we've been doing this, we're saving our money. I think it's a matter of putting yourself in a position that you are able to buy, and not necessarily that you have to go buy. But imagine the couple that have been saving money and waiting to get into the market and buy a place, and they see this great opportunity come up, but they're not ready yet because they haven't fully prepared to get into the market. And they see this great opportunity and it passes them by because they weren't prepared. And I think, if you're going to look at a market and say, well, we're waiting for prices to come down to buy, it's not a matter of just waiting for prices to come down to meet you. You have to come up to meet the price as well, meaning you have to prepare. You have to save your
Yeah.
money. You have to do your homework. You have to have your finances in order. You got to have your credit in order. You have to be ready, talking to the right professionals, knowing that you're able to go out and engage in the market. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people spend their time on the internet looking at the home they want to buy. And when it comes up, they're not prepared, they're not ready. So take the opportunities now while you can to be able to participate in this type of market where there are some great opportunities out there, and not be stuck where you're back into a seller's market perhaps down the road, or a balanced market, and you're competing for a home, and now all of a sudden all the hard work you did is going to cost you more money, or you no longer qualify for what you wanted. I mean, $100,000 swing on a home is massive when you're
Oh
buying
yeah.
your first home. Massive.
Yeah, and that trigger for getting somebody, which drives somebody's readiness. Like at what point do they actually say, okay, now we're jumping in.
Yeah,
It'll be different for everybody.
absolutely.
A week and a half from now, we've got a rate announcement. There might be a rate cut. Who knows? For some, that'll be the trigger. For some, it'll be the right house coming up on the right street at the right time. But the other side of that, like you said, are you ready? Have you got your pre-qualification? Are those repairs that are needed at the house? Have they been completed? Because what you really want to do, and we've talked about this before, is time those transactions as closely together as you possibly can, which means you get a accepted purchase agreement in place. That house should be the one you've got should be on the market as quickly as you can after that. And I would argue 2 weeks or less if you can have it ready within 1 week.
And
The
that's if
quicker,
you're in a position that you can actually buy before you sell.
yeah, and
The
and
flip side to all of this is being a seller in this type of market. And we talk about the buyer prep. Well, there's also the seller prep time. So if you're timing it out on the other end, you got the same challenges over there.
and let's be clear, there is less risk with selling first and then buying
Absolutely.
in this market.
Absolutely. I mean, and we've both experienced it even this year, several times we've both experienced it where clients have made the choice that they want to know where they're going next.
Yeah,
Um, and in some cases, I mean, in my case, my client took years to get to the place where they wanted to be. They wanted to buy first, and I'm not saying that that was the right move. That would have been a good move for them if they could have did it 3 years ago. In today's market, it was a lot more challenging, and I will tell you, the stress levels they experienced throughout this entire transaction were way higher than that they would have dealt with if they had sold first. But
yeah,
not only that, because of the position they put themselves in, they were more vulnerable on the sales side, knowing they had to get this deal done sooner than later. And it was in a market that was swamped with competition. We were carrying 6, 7 months of inventory in the neighborhood. All the houses in the neighborhood are cookie cutter, same model homes. It created an enormous amount of stress on my clients.
yeah. And neighborhoods like that where you do have that kind of cookie cutter element, newer subdivisions
Yeah.
primarily. The inventory levels are typically higher, and the level of I guess the homogeneous nature of the community is a factor. I mean, the reality is you can drive around the corner and see three more houses pretty much just like it.
Yeah.
And if there's for sale signs on those lines, well,
That's your competition.
yeah.
And you don't know what position those sellers are in.
If they're desperate, they may sell for a little lower than the number you'd hoped, and now that's your comp.
Exactly. And I mean, that's exactly what we dealt with. We had homes in our neighborhood that went up at or around when we went up, and they moved a lot faster than we did in their pricing. And it was because these were people that had bought homes in 2020, 2021, 2022, and they were tasked with dealing with a mortgage renewal in the next year that they weren't going to be able to afford.
Yeah,
So we're seeing homes now that were listed below what our ideal number was, and they were still going down lower and taking a loss because it was either lose a bit of money on the sale or lose everything if the bank takes it.
yeah.
And that's what we were competing against. So it made things that much more difficult for us to get what we wanted in a short period of time.
Well, the key is being ready. in that some of those examples, I'm without seeing the houses, obviously, could staging have helped? Could some repairs or some paint have helped? Could having the photos done in advance so that you could move quicker help? Chances are yes, yes, and yes. But it's also managing expectations. And, whether it's us as our role in helping coach clients through the process and helping them understand the market and the market conditions, it's also going to be, the need to, I'm losing my train of thought. I got the dog here. She's looking at me wanting something. But they've got to be ready.
Absolutely.
And their expectations have to be in line with what the market is. And sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow.
And I think that's where we are today. So with this whole conversation, I was at a buyer's market, or it is a buyer's market, and pricing's coming down and everything else. Are we going to see prices come down to where people think houses are affordable again? I don't think you're going to find sellers willing to go to that point. I think they're going to find a way to hold on longer if it comes to that. You will see sellers that are forced because they don't have any other choice, and you'll always have depressed sales, bankruptcy issues. You'll always have health issues that force a sale or power of sale, power of attorney, things like that. But the
Yeah.
main base of people that own homes out there today, I think a lot of those people, if push comes to shove, they're going to say, you know what, I'll find a way to stay where I am longer than rather than sell at that price point. So I don't see prices dropping to where people feel they need to go to make affordability come back. But at the same time, I don't see people on the flip side putting in or doing what's necessary to put them in a position where they're ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
If that was the case, 5 price drops earlier this year would have triggered something. All the things that have gone on, the increase in inventory would have triggered sales, but we're not seeing that. So there's something else obviously underlying that's holding people back.
Well, and everybody's case is different, right? So,
Absolutely.
I guess the point of our conversation today is really just, you got to be ready, you got to be prepared, do what's necessary on both sides, as a buyer and a seller. Time your transactions as closely together as you can, and ultimately be in a position where you're ready to pull the trigger when it's right for you.
And I think if you're waiting just because you're waiting for the market, I think we're a long ways away from getting back to where the market is driven up based on economics. I don't think we're in a
Yeah,
different world today. Our national debt's higher. The employment numbers we didn't even touch on today, but the employment we had 105,000 jobs in the last 2 months. We're
yeah,
lost in Canada.
yeah, and
105,000.
probably that's probably not improving anytime soon.
No. So I mean, there's a lot of things there, factors to take into consideration that are going to have an impact on housing. So I don't see us going back to that positive side of leisure anytime soon.
Well, I think we'll try and stay optimistic,
It's
as I
sunny out
said.
today. Let's end it on a good note. Sunny. You can't see outside
Yeah,
the
there you
window,
go,
but
right?
there's
So,
enough doom and gloom. But yeah, I mean, it's on that note, yeah, let's try and end it on a positive note because I feel like we went down a dark hole here today. But
well, you know what?
that's
Those
unfortunately
who
the
are
reality
prepared,
sometimes.
those who are prepared as we've been talking, they'll pull it off somehow, some way.
Yeah,
But
I just want to make sure people are realistic in what they're working on out there. And it's not that it's impossible to happen. Lots of homes are still selling and you can still be a part of that seller pool, but it's all about planning and expectation.
yeah. Well,
Great.
until next month,
All right, man.
happy selling.
You too.
All right, see ya.